Hey, it's Jeremy from Jeremy.net, and these are some previously unposted time-lapse videos from Morningstar issue 7. And I can't help but think, as I'm watching this video, that I wish I had pulled some reference to look at, just for drawing the tree bark, the brush and plants around this environment. I mean, you can't help but kind of nitpick your work when you look at it in the past, in retrospect. But the thing specifically with the trees is just the fact that hopefully I could have made it feel more like tree bark with fewer lines by properly placing those lines in the correct place, in the correct spot. Just something I've found over the course of doing this series is that it's a challenge finding the right balance of using reference versus maintaining the spontaneity of a comic book page. Because I don't think there's such a thing as too much reference, but the use of reference can slow you down in a certain degree. Usually, reference I find it's a helper and it speeds things up when I'm drawing something and it's not coming out right. 9 times out of 10, reference is what helps me fix the problem. Whether it's lighting reference, just the fact that I'm drawing something that I'm making up out of my head when I should really look and see exactly what it truly looks like. But by the same token, to a certain degree, you can just draw stuff out of your head, and there's a certain amount of spontaneity that comes with that when you're just sitting there trying to get down the essence, when you're more cartooning than you are transcribing reality. And it's a hard balance to find. And I think one of the things in that challenge of that balance is the number of comic book pages I've drawn, because at this point, I'm now wrapping up the final issue of Morningstar, and the whole 8-issue series rounds out a little over 200 pages. And there's a saying that every comic book artist has 1,000 bad comic book pages in them. And given the fact that Morningstar is about 200 odd pages, my previous graphic novel, Eye of the Gods, is another 140 pages, and then just various projects I've drawn over my years. I've maybe done another 200 or so pages here of like early indie comics and little one shots and other projects. Maybe more than that, maybe another 300 pages. But just spitballing in my head, maybe I've drawn 600, 700 comic book pages. So I still have quite a bit to go. And what I think is a truism about that expression is that it's not just a matter of putting in the hours. It's a matter of building up an internal visual library based on reference, where I've looked at enough trees and drawn enough trees. I've looked at enough guns that if I need to do a Navy Colt revolver, or if I need to do an AK-47 or contemporary machine gun, I've drawn enough of those that I can very quickly get down what are the key marks that indicate what that item is. And this goes back to playing with that idea of balance between reference, but also getting to the point of things. I ended up buying a artist edition book, my first artist edition that I've owned. It's beautiful, and I have to give a shout out to the Cartoon Kayfabe YouTube channel, because Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor did a review of Alex Toth's Bravo for Adventure artist edition, and that's the one that I got, because while I'm planning to go in a looser style going forward, which is funny because even looking at this to me, I look at it and it's tighter than I imagine I will be drawing in the future, but I still look at this and imagine it's pretty loose compared to contemporary superhero comic book illustration. It's pretty rough, pretty ragged. But one of the things that Toth excels at, and that I am inspired by, is how he creates verisimilitude, meaning the illusion of reality, or the sense of reality. He creates that with a minimum number of lines. When he's drawing a car or an airplane, he gets the silhouette of that vehicle down, or a gun or a building. He'll get those things down, but he gets it down with a minimum amount of lines and fuss. It's not like he's sitting there and maybe he's just tracing a simple background. It's a photostated thing, and then he goes in and blocks it in with the shadows depicting the top, front, and side planes of that to give you that sense of it. But what I'm trying to get at here is that he's not over laboring it. He somehow has managed to create both a sense of near photorealism in a cartoony sense, while at the same time doing it with a minimum number of lines, just really blacking out or blocking out a strong silhouette and putting details in the right place. And I think that's the thing that I still struggle with as an artist, is finding the right amount of detail and putting those details in the right place. I haven't quite got that yet. I'm still in that phase where I'm still drawing a lot out of my head, and I'm turning to reference to fix problems as opposed to, I don't think I've quite mastered the preemptive use of reference, where I'm simply saying, all right, how can I use this to make what I'm going into easier beforehand? And it's always better to use reference or any artistic tool as a pre-planning tool to prevent problems as opposed to using it as a band-aid to fix things that went off the map. And I can look through page after page and see areas where just looking at a piece of clothing or a saddle or any particular detail where I'm like, this might feel just a little bit more realistic if I were looking at some more reference while I was drawing it. But then there's that fact that, does the reference speed you up or slow you down? In some cases, reference speeds me up because I could have spent more time drawing the correct things as opposed to laboring over trying to fix and correct mistakes. Sometimes the reference ends up where there's details that aren't really even necessary. I end up drawing stuff in and looking at photo reference, and in the end, I'm like, no one's really going to spend a lot of time on this page. I mean, going back to the Alex Toth Artist Edition, one of the things that it's reminding me of, or it's making me realize, is that I don't necessarily need to be as precious with every single line that I draw. Which is weird to say when I refer to myself as being somebody who's kind of a sloppy and loose artist, because of the fact that I look at, again, the lines that Toth puts down, they capture everything that needs to be said, but he doesn't look like he's laboring over those lines. When you look at the pages blown up, it's like he just knows the right space, the right spot for the details, but then when the lines are put in, it's not like there's no shake in them. It's not like they're drawn with this laser-like precision. They look like they could be just a commission sketch he did for somebody at a table at a convention. He just has that perfect balance of control and free-spirited energy that I'm still pursuing. So I don't know. I mean, this thing, it's a constant evolution, like I said, in terms of how many pages I have to draw before I really feel like I have mastery over comic book storytelling. The number continues. I haven't reached that point yet. I definitely am pleased with how much I've grown, what I can do now that I wasn't able to do before. But as always, there's more work to do. You just can't get discouraged. Try to enjoy yourself.
Thanks for watching. This video was brought to you by my subscribers on patreon.com. If you'd like to join them, go to patreon.com/GERIMI. For as little as $2 a month, you'll receive a bonus monthly video and a ton of behind-the-scenes artwork and blog posts. To read pages of my comics for free and keep up with what I'm creating, sign up for my monthly newsletter at newsletter.jeremy.net. And to buy physical copies of my comics or read digitally on Amazon Kindle, go to amazon.jeremy.net. That will forward you to my Amazon author page. That's it for now. Go be creative.